Welcome to Life L'Chaim. On today's show, Rabbi Thompson talks with Rabbi Pinchas Taylor and Mark Dunn from Jewish Community in Recovery about alcohol and substance abuse in the Jewish community. We'll be right back after these messages.
Joining me now is Rabbi Pinchas Taylor. Rabbi Taylor is associated with Chabad of Plantation, Florida. Rabbi Taylor, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
We've just had the opportunity to hear from Mark Dunn, who is a mutual friend. I wanted to get you in today because you have really made an important part of your career as a rabbi in learning and helping people in recovery and finding new avenues for them to embrace Jewish values and Jewish learning as part of both the physical and I guess the spiritual process of recovering. First of all, I'd like to know, how did you get interested in this?
That's a great question, and one of the questions that a lot of Jews in recovery ask me is, are you in recovery yourself? And the answer to that is no. So they say, like you, how did you get into such a thing? So when I was in my last year of rabbinical school, I was finishing up my rabbinic ordination in Los Angeles. And as you know, there are one or two recovery treatment centers in LA. So there was one that was connected with Chabad, and they were looking at the time for somebody to teach Judaism and spirituality as a supplement to the 12 steps. Not in lieu of, but in supplement to give people an option to explore that avenue of their life, being that many of the clients who were over there were Jews.
And how did you find those avenues? What did you bring to the table for them that added this Jewish dimension to that process?
Well, we explored Judaism in a way that was very foreign to many of them, and very foreign to many Jews, especially in the States. Many Jewish people that you and I both know grew up, they went to Hebrew school, they got their bar mitzvah, and then after that, they never stepped foot in the temple, maybe once a year, twice a year for the holidays or other events. But really, with a concrete Jewish learning, most people today have an 11-year-old's understanding of Judaism. It's not to their fault or detriment, but how can anybody have an appreciation of something if they only have an 11-year-old's understanding? So what we tried to do was to teach Torah and teach the spiritual dimension of the Torah in a way that was palatable and practical to daily life of an adult Jewish person, and specifically geared to concepts and themes that are prevalent in recovery. What we did was we looked at some of the Jewish ethical works, some of the Jewish mystical works, and saw the weekly parsha, as Mark said earlier. We explored the weekly parsha not as, what's the parsha of the week this week? It's more being that Jews around the world are reading the same portion of the Torah every single week. There is a universal message and energy that is encapsulated in that week, that is connected with every single Jew all the time of every generation. Being that that's the case, we had then and we have now weekly groups, weekly discussions about what's the energy of the week that I'm trying to tap into for this week. What should I be thinking about? What should be on my mind this week?
Let me ask you, as someone who sort of bridges the communities, because I know your real passion is adult education in all its forms, but I somehow imagine that you also might be a sort of a liaison between the recovery community and the rest of the Jewish community. What do you think we as Jews, as a Jewish community, need to know about Jews who are in recovery?
Well, I think the first step is knowing that there are Jews in recovery. I think Mark mentioned a little bit earlier, and I think you mentioned yourself, that part of the Jewish community's issue or challenge is acknowledging that there is a problem and there is a challenge in our communities. That applies to both the unaffiliated Jewish community and the religious community as well. It exists all across the board, doesn't know any difference between creed or background. So our first thing is acknowledge that there is an issue, that's something that has to be dealt with, and be accepting of those who do face this challenge, welcoming, and try to facilitate programs, classes, whatever the case may be, each community according to its ability to try and be of service to people who have these needs.
I personally find it, I guess I use the word inspiring for lack of a better, so many of us have so many personal reservations, and we live in a world and a society that's so judgmental. None of us really want to put our flaws and our bad habits and all that stuff out there for other people. Those are things we want to hide. We don't even want to let ourselves look at them, much less the whole world. How do you find working with the recovering community that it's inspired your teaching? What have they taught you?
Honestly, I tell any person who is in recovery all the time that I'm in awe of you, completely in awe. Why? Because everyone in the world needs recovery for something. We all have some issue, some nick or in our personality that could be adjusted, tweaked, refined, and someone who's in recovery is actually doing that. Wow, what a concept. So the awe of somebody who puts themselves forward and makes themselves vulnerable is inspiring to me as well.
Rabbi Taylor, I want to thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition. For more information on our show, please visit us on the web at tolifelchaim.com. I'm Lee Lazarson. Thank you very much for joining us. And to life, l'chaim.